So have you given the order? That's all I want to know. It's not theoretical. For the U.S. military, not law enforcement. They can arrest all day long. That's their job. Do they have the ability, the uniformed military, to arrest and detain protesters currently today? It's a yes or no thing, authority.
It's sort of amusing the extent to which the speculation is out there. These troops are given very clear orders.
Then what is the order? Then list it out for us. Be a man, list it out. Did you authorize them to detain or arrest?
On what evidence would you have that an order like that has ever been given?
Giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in the uniformed military to do something that I know in my gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So your poo-pooing of this, it just shows you don't understand who we are as a country, who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military. I love the military. I served alongside my whole life, so I'm worried about you tainting it. Have you given the order? Have you given the order that they can use lethal force against honor? I want the answer to be no. Please tell me it's no. Have you given the order?
Senator, I'd be careful what you read in books and believing it.
I'd be careful what you read in books. That's the sound of an administration treating constitutional concerns like inconvenient fan fiction. When the Secretary of Defense dismisses a serious charge like the one that his Republican predecessor was ordered to use lethal force on Americans with a casual smirk and a book critique, you know we've moved far past policy disagreements and deep into dangerous political territory. Hi, I'm Mary, and welcome to Magadotes, where we believe true patriotism means holding power accountable, especially when they start blurring the lines between military force and domestic policing. The fact that 4,700 troops were deployed to Los Angeles without the governor's consent, and the secretary minimizes the sheer historical weight of that action, tells me everything I need to know about where his priorities lie. It's not with an apolitical military, it's with political expediency. Before we dive deep into the full constitutional breakdown of this terrifying exchange, hit that like button, subscribe to Magadotes, and ring that bell because we need to be loud about preserving civilian control over our military.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I said in your hearing, when you had your confirmation hearing, that my biggest concern with you at the helm was the potential use of the military in ways that contradict the Constitution or that taint what I hope we all want, which is an apolitical military. And when I asked you about whether you would accept an order that was actually given to your predecessor, Secretary Esper, Trump's SecDef, to deploy active duty troops against unarmed protesters and to, in Secretary Esper's words, shoot at them, shoot at their legs. You said this was all theoretical. Here we are, a few months later, you've deployed 4,700 troops to Los Angeles and against the wishes of the governor. And my colleague across the aisle was right. It is the first time since 1965 that we have deployed Guard troops without the permission of the governor. In all the instances he laid out, the president had sent in the military to protect protesters, not against the protesters. So you may dismiss it, but I feel like this is a fundamental issue of American democracy. If you love your country and you want an apolitical military, then it should be the last resort, not the first resort in our country to use them. So to get to the non-theoretical, have you authorized the uniformed military to detain or arrest protesters in Los Angeles?
Senator, I would just start by saying you're not a protester if you're throwing concrete
100%.
at
Arrest
law
those
enforcement
people.
officers.
Throw them in the jail. 100%. But what you're doing is something different. Everyone knows this is a political decision, right? So we don't trust that you're using the best interests of the military, certainly, and of democracy on top of that. So have you given the order? That's all I want to know. It's not theoretical. For the U.S. military, not law enforcement. They can arrest all day long. That's their job. Do they have the ability, the uniformed military, to arrest and detain protesters currently today?
It's
It's a yes or no thing, authority.
It's sort of amusing the extent to which the speculation is out there. These troops are given very clear orders.
Then what is the order? Then list it out for us. Be a man, list it out. Did you authorize them to detain or arrest? That is a fundamental issue of democracy. I'm not trying to be a snot here. I'm just trying to get the actual, did you authorize them to do that?
All of these orders and what they're sent there to do are public. They are there
so say it. So say it. Yes or no?
I'd like to.
Please, yes or no?
As I've said time and time again through interruption, they're there to protect law enforcement,
do they have
ICE
the ability
officers
to arrest?
who are trying to do their job, deporting illegals who were allowed in by the previous administration.
So they cannot arrest and detain citizens of the United States, the uniformed military.
As we've stated, if necessary, in their own self-defense, they could temporarily detain and hand over to ICE. But there's no arresting going on. And you know this better than you're trying to play political games. There's no arresting of U.S. personnel.
Of the U.S. military against members of the protest. Have you authorized U.S. military cyber tools to investigate people participating in these protests? Yes or no?
Certainly in no way that I'd be aware of.
Okay, that's good. I love that answer. That's great. Have you given the order to be able to shoot at unarmed protesters in any way? I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way, my colleagues across the aisle.
What is that based on? What evidence would you have that an order like that has ever been given?
Giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in the uniformed military to do something that I know in my gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So your poo-pooing of this, it just shows you don't understand who we are as a country, who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military. I love the military. I served alongside my whole life, so I'm worried about you tainting it. Have you given the order? Have you given the order that they can use lethal force against honor? I want the answer to be no. Please tell me it's no. Have you given the order?
Senator, I'd be careful what you read in books and believing it, except for the Bible.
Oh, my God. So your former predecessor, I guess that's not enough for you. Okay, on Iran. I don't think there's a debate. There's like a cat fight going on in your own party about whether to go after Iran. Have you commissioned any day after planning? So any force protection, any use of ground troops in Iran, any cost assessments? Because I don't think we doubt what we can do as a country in the attack. It's the day after with Iraq and Afghanistan that so many of us have learned to be so deeply concerned about. Have you authorized day after planning?
As I've said, we have plans for everything, Senator.
All right, let's talk about the real danger here, because it's not the handful of people throwing things at a protest. That's a law enforcement issue, and we have jails for that. The danger is when the people in charge of the most powerful fighting force on the planet suddenly get fuzzy on the Constitution. When the senator asks a basic binary question, yes or no, did you authorize soldiers to detain American citizens? And the secretary starts tap dancing, you know that line they're drawing is not absolute always. They can't say yes because they know it's a terrifying constitutional violation that puts us on the path to a banana republic. So instead, they give us this slippery slope. Well, we can temporarily detain them in self-defense and hand them over to, wait for it, ICE. ICE? Seriously? The military deployed without the governor's consent can now grab a citizen under the guise of self-defense and hand them to an immigration enforcement agency? That sounds like a legal workaround designed by someone who knows they're doing something deeply un-American but wants to maintain plausible deniability. Or, that flimsy self-defense clause is just a bureaucratic fig leaf for what everyone knows as political deployment. Our troops deserve better than to be used as politically motivated backup dancers for domestic law enforcement. And the attempt to gaslight us about the prior administration? The current secretary wants to dismiss the sworn account of his predecessor who literally refused an order that would have mandated shooting at Americans' legs. Let that sink in. Someone had the courage to say, no, my oath is to the Constitution, not to an order that violates my conscience and stains the uniform. That kind of moral fortitude is what separates patriots from puppets. When you hear the current secretary poo-pooing that courage, you realize the political goal is to erase the memory of anyone who ever stood up to this administration's blurring of the military-civilian boundary. It's an active attempt to make the next secretary and the next more compliant. Now, on cyber tools, I actually loved that answer. The secretary says he's certainly in no way that I'd be aware of authorizing military cyber tools to investigate American citizens exercising their protest rights. That's a perfect example of what we call in Washington the plausible ignorance defense. He didn't say it wasn't happening, he just said he wasn't aware, which means one of two things. Either he's not doing his job and someone beneath him is running military espionage against U.S. citizens, or he knows exactly what's happening and is protecting himself from perjury. Either way, it suggests the military apparatus is being considered for use against Americans, whether through kinetic force or digital surveillance. Let's pivot to foreign policy, because this is where things get truly absurd. When asked about planning for the aftermath of a conflict with Iran, the crucial day-after scenario we learned to fear after Iraq and Afghanistan, what's the answer? We have plans for everything, Senator. Oh, that's reassuring. I sleep so much better knowing they have plans for everything. That's the military equivalent of telling your spouse, don't worry, I totally wrote down the grocery list somewhere. Well, we're not asking for launch codes. We're asking if there's been concrete analysis and cost assessment for the inevitable prolonged occupation or proxy wars that follow a major attack. The inability or refusal to articulate even broad specifics on force protection planning suggests that the focus is all on the political thunder of the attack itself, and zero on the patriotic responsibility of keeping our troops safe in the long, ugly cleanup. This hearing wasn't just about current events. It was a debate over American identity. We are patriots because we cherish the Bill of Rights, the right to protest, the right to not fear our own soldiers. An apolitical military isn't just a preference, it's a pillar of our republic. It is the absolute last defense, not the first political toy you deploy for an optics win. What we witnessed was a high-ranking official using legalistic trickery and dismissive sarcasm to avoid confirming the fundamental right of Americans not to be subject to military law on U.S. soil. We need leaders who understand that courage isn't about deploying troops, it's about refusing to deploy them when the Constitution says no. We are not a nation where the Secretary of Defense gets to treat the military like a political chess piece. We are a nation built on laws, and if we allow that line to be erased, we're no longer the free country we claim to love. Demand better. Never stop asking the uncomfortable questions. I'm Mary, and this is Magadotes. Thanks for watching.